In the vast expanse of the universe, humanity had long been regarded as little more than an afterthought. The older races, the ancient empires that spanned entire galaxies, looked down on Earth with a mix of disdain and indifference. Humans, with their comparatively primitive technologies and unpredictable temperament, were viewed as a species struggling to hold on amidst forces far beyond their comprehension. For centuries, Earth had fought for survival, from the first devastating wars to the relentless onslaught of alien invaders. Yet despite their fragile position, humans possessed something that the galaxy's elites could never fully understand: determination. They refused to be wiped out. They refused to bend. Even when all seemed lost, humanity's resilience had always found a way to defy the odds. And then came the Titan. It wasn't a symbol or an idea. It was real, an immense, nearly indestructible war machine created in secret by a coalition of the best minds humanity could offer. The Titan was a weapon unlike anything ever conceived by any species. Thousands of feet tall, its hull was forged from an alloy that could withstand the mightiest energy blasts. Its weapons were powered by the very heart of a star, capable of erasing entire fleets with a single salvo. The Titan was not just a weapon, it was a promise to the universe that humanity would no longer be the underdog. But despite its power, the world had hesitated. Skeptics abounded, voices of caution who argued that the Titan was too dangerous, that its immense power could be the very thing that doomed humanity rather than saving it. Governments bickered about how to wield it, its mere existence becoming the subject of heated debates. Would humanity be ready to control such overwhelming force, or would they repeat the mistakes of the past? The weapon was hidden away, its purpose still shrouded in uncertainty. That was until the day the galaxy's oldest empire decided to remind humanity of its place. The Eruvian Dominion had ruled unchallenged for millennia. Their vast war fleets, each ship capable of obliterating entire planets, had already subdued countless worlds. They saw Earth as an insignificant speck, a challenge to be crushed beneath their heels when the time was right. But when they made their first attempt to invade Earth's space, they didn't expect what was waiting for them: the Titan. And with it, the wrath of humanity. On that fateful day, the Eruvian Dominion arrived, their fleet descending upon Earth like a storm. The skies darkened with the shadows of their ships, and the threat of annihilation loomed. The first shots were fired, and as expected, the humans did not back down. Their resistance was fierce, but it was clear that they were outmatched, until the Titan's silhouette appeared, breaking through the atmosphere like a rising giant. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion had met something they could not simply steamroll. The Titan unleashed its power, its weapons flaring to life in a dazzling, destructive display that lit up the sky. A single blast from its main cannon shattered the largest Dominion warship into fragments. The sheer force of the blast reverberated across the planet, and the trembling Eruvian fleet hesitated for the briefest moment. The Titan had awakened. As the Eruvian fleet regrouped, now on the defensive, humanity watched in awe as their creation tore through the enemy forces. Its weapons were relentless and its defenses impenetrable. The Titan's rampage across space was not just a victory for humanity, it was a declaration, a statement to the universe that the time of underestimation was over. However, the battle was far from won. The Eruvian Dominion, though shaken, was not easily deterred. Their response came swiftly. Reinforcements, the largest and most deadly fleet ever assembled, arrived at the edge of Earth's orbit. It was a battle that would decide humanity's fate. Inside the control room of the Titan, Commander Vera Kincaid stood at the helm. Her expression was focused, resolute. She had long believed that the Titan's purpose was to unite humanity, to show that Earth's survival was not a matter of strength alone, but of willpower. Yet now, as she looked out at the fleet of invaders, she realized that the true test was upon them. The Titan had answered humanity's call, but was it enough? Could one weapon, one symbol of mankind's ingenuity and strength, really carry the weight of a galaxy's judgment? Vera's mind raced as she initiated the final preparations for what was to come. The weapon systems hummed in synchronization. The Titan was ready. And so was she. As the first wave of Eruvian ships barreled toward them, Vera gave the order. Open fire. The sky above Earth was a canvas of chaos. As the Eruvian Dominion's fleet loomed on the horizon, its warships, massive looming behemoths of metal and energy, descended in waves, each ship outclassing anything humanity had ever produced. Yet, as their guns powered up and their shields shimmered to life, they found themselves facing a foe that was not only determined but armed with a power they had never seen before. The Titan's cannon roared to life, and in an instant, the universe was illuminated by a burst of light so intense that it swallowed everything in its path. The blast, like a cosmic spear, cut through the darkness of space and struck the nearest Dominion ship with the force of a collapsing star. The Eruvian warship disintegrated in a flash. Its massive hull crumpled, torn apart by the devastating energy coursing through it. Pieces of debris shot outward, some of them disintegrating before they could even reach the Titan. It was the first blow but not the last. Inside the command center of the Titan, Commander Vera Kincaid gripped the controls, her knuckles white with focus. Her eyes were fixed on the swirling mass of enemy ships approaching. She knew the battle was just beginning. She had been trained for this moment, for moments of overwhelming pressure. But this was different. The sheer scale of the battle felt like a fever dream. The next wave of fire came from the Dominion fleet, an array of energy blasts aimed directly at the Titan. But the weapon's shields flared to life, an impenetrable wall of energy that absorbed the strikes without even so much as a ripple. The Eruvian fleet had underestimated the Titan's defensive capabilities, as many had underestimated humanity's resolve. What they hadn't counted on was that one single machine could be the hammer that shattered their entire invasion. Vera gave a swift command, her voice steady despite the mounting tension. Deploy secondary weapons. Engage with full force. The Titan's surface shifted as colossal cannons, gleaming weapons of destruction, emerged from hidden compartments along its armored hull. These guns, smaller but no less deadly, fired with precision. Each shot found its mark with deadly accuracy, tearing through the outer defenses of the Eruvian fleet. Ships exploded in violent bursts of flame and debris, their once pristine structures reduced to nothing but wreckage in the vacuum of space. Vera's breath came in sharp, controlled bursts, but her mind was razor-focused. Her tactical team worked in perfect synchrony, inputting data and tracking targets in real time, helping her maximize every shot. The Titan's vast array of weaponry was an extension of her will, a tool forged for this one moment in history. And she would not let humanity's future slip through their grasp. However, the Dominion was not without its own tricks. As the Titan continued its assault, a new wave of enemy ships arrived, sleek, agile, and heavily armed. They were not built for brute force. Instead, they relied on speed and maneuverability, hitting the Titan in a blur of motion. They peppered the massive war machine with a barrage of plasma missiles, attempting to break through its formidable defenses. The Titan's shields flickered as one of the missiles found a weak point, striking the right shoulder of the massive war machine. A chunk of armor was blasted away, revealing a cascade of sparks and exposed circuitry beneath. The Eruvian fleet had found a vulnerability, a chink in the Titan's nearly indestructible armor. But Vera was not deterred. If there was one thing humanity had learned over the years, it was that no victory came without sacrifice. She quickly issued the order to adjust the Titan's trajectory, shifting it just enough to make the enemy ships focus their fire on the remaining side. This strategic maneuver caused a chain reaction, a fatal flaw in the Dominion's tactics. As the Dominion ships fired relentlessly at the Titan's exposed shoulder, Vera used the Titan's newfound vulnerability to her advantage. She activated the Titan's thrusters, propelling the massive war machine forward into the heart of the enemy fleet. The Titan became a moving fortress, its colossal frame grinding against the smaller Dominion ships, crushing them beneath its weight as it tore through their ranks. The Eruvian fleet, caught off guard by the Titan's sudden offensive, faltered for a moment. But that was all humanity needed. With a massive explosion, the Titan's back-mounted missile pods opened up, unleashing a wave of devastating projectiles that rained down on the remaining ships. The entire fleet was torn apart in moments, the remnants of their once proud armada now floating in space, little more than scattered debris. And then, silence. The Titan stood alone, the black void of space stretching out in all directions. The first wave of the Eruvian invasion had been repelled, but the battle was far from over. The cost of victory had been high, and as Vera looked out over the now desolate battlefield, her mind raced with thoughts of what was to come. For now, humanity had proved its worth. But would the galaxy ever view them as anything more than a species capable of wielding the wrath of a single Titan? The questions lingered in the cold silence of space. The Eruvian Dominion had never been defeated so decisively. For the first time in their millennia-long reign, their pride had been shattered. The Battle of Earth was not just a loss, it was an embarrassment that reverberated across the Dominion's high command, sending ripples of panic through their ranks. The Titan, a weapon humanity had kept hidden for so long, had proved itself to be far more than just a symbol. It was a game-changer. As the wreckage of the Dominion fleet drifted in space, Commander Vera Kincaid knew this was not the end. The Dominion would not simply retreat. They would regroup, rebuild, and strike again, likely with more intensity, more cunning. The true test for humanity, for the Titan, and for Earth's survival had only just begun. But as the Titan hovered above the Earth, Vera's eyes flickered with something else: uncertainty. The battle had been won, yes. But at what cost? Hundreds of lives had been lost, both on Earth and in the space battle. She could feel the weight of their deaths, each one a reminder of the thin line between survival and annihilation. Her thoughts were interrupted by an incoming communication. It was from Earth's High Command. A holographic projection of General Roland Harlow flickered to life before her, his stern face betraying the exhaustion that had weighed down the command center since the battle began. "Commander Kincaid," the general's voice was steady but grave, "we've received reports of an incoming Dominion fleet, larger than the last. They've sent their most experienced commanders. We expect the next wave will be their most dangerous yet." Vera's heart skipped a beat. If the Dominion's leadership was being mobilized, this wouldn't just be a battle for Earth's survival. It would be a war for humanity's place in the galaxy. "I understand, General," she replied, her voice unwavering. "Prepare the Titan for combat. We'll meet them head-on." But even as she spoke, a troubling thought gnawed at her. The Titan had been the hammer that had struck down the first wave. But could it withstand a second assault from a more determined, more cunning foe? Would humanity's greatest creation be enough? Her thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of another communication, this time from the heart of the Dominion fleet. A tall figure appeared in the hologram, his presence commanding. His skin was pale, almost translucent, his black hair streaked with silver, and his eyes gleamed like twin stars, cold and calculating. This was Admiral Rethak, one of the highest-ranking commanders of the Dominion and the one responsible for overseeing the ill-fated invasion of Earth. "Commander Kincaid," Rethak's voice was chilling, full of venom. "You may have won the battle, but do not mistake that for victory. You've proven your weapon can destroy my fleet, but you've also proven something far more dangerous." Vera's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "You've proven that your species is capable of wielding unimaginable destruction," Rethak continued, his gaze narrowing. "And we, the Dominion, cannot allow a power like that to exist unchecked. You are a threat to us, and we will not rest until humanity is eradicated from the galaxy. We will return, and this time, you will not stand against us." Rethak's image flickered, and before Vera could respond, the transmission cut off. The threat hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. The Dominion was not just angered by their loss, they were terrified of humanity's potential. They feared the Titan and, by extension, the will of the people it represented. Vera turned to her tactical officers. "Prepare the Titan. Let's give them something to remember." As she issued the orders, something deep within her stirred, a realization. The Titan was more than just a weapon. It was a symbol, and with it, humanity could become something greater than the sum of its parts. But could it inspire the unity needed to face down a force like the Dominion? The next day, Earth's skies would darken once again. The Dominion's second fleet, even larger and more formidable than the first, was already en route. And behind it, an even darker force was stirring, Admiral Rethak's true plan. Vera knew the coming battle would not just test the Titan, but the very soul of humanity. Could they overcome the shadows of their past, or would they be crushed under the weight of their own creation? The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, would depend on the decisions made in the next few hours. And Commander Vera Kincaid had only one question in her mind. Would the Titan's wrath be enough? The silence that followed the abrupt end of Admiral Rethak's transmission was deafening. For a moment, Vera Kincaid allowed herself to stand still, the weight of the threat pressing heavily on her chest. The Eruvian Dominion was no longer just a far-off empire, content to mock Earth from a distance. They were coming back, and this time, they were determined to erase humanity from existence. But Vera Kincaid had seen humanity face the impossible before. She had witnessed the strength of people who had nothing left but their will to survive. The Titan had already proven its worth on the battlefield, but now, it would become something more. It would become the rallying point for all of Earth's defenses. She turned to her command crew, every face lit with the same resolute determination that burned inside her. "Get ready. We don't just fight for Earth anymore. We fight for everything that stands against tyranny in the galaxy." "Understood, Commander," her tactical officer, Lieutenant Eris Vel, replied with a sharp nod. "Deploying all defensive systems now. Preparing for the next wave." Vera's gaze shifted to the forward window, where the endless blackness of space stretched out before them. She knew the enemy was coming, their vast fleet already within striking distance. Her fingers tightened around the console. There was no room for hesitation now. The Titan was humanity's answer to the forces that had long thought them insignificant. It was not just a weapon. It was a statement. And Earth would make that statement loud and clear. The moments that followed felt like an eternity. The Titan's massive form, towering, almost godlike, shifted in the void, its thrusters firing to reposition the colossal machine. The massive cannons on its shoulders and back flared with power, as did the smaller, more specialized weapons lining its body. The entire warship hummed with energy, a living, breathing entity prepared for the coming storm. Outside, the Eruvian fleet arrived with overwhelming numbers. It was a fleet unlike anything humanity had ever faced, massive dreadnoughts, sleek cruisers and agile strike ships. Their weapons shimmered ominously in the black void, their presence a direct threat to every living soul on Earth. Enemy fleet coming in hot. Lieutenant Vel's voice crackled over the comm. We've detected over 50 warships, with more on the way. Prepare for the worst, Vera said, her voice unwavering. The moment the first wave of energy blasts from the Dominion's ships hit the Titan's shields, a shockwave rippled through space, rattling the massive war machine. The shock was enough to push back the Titan a fraction of an inch, but the shields held firm. For a moment, Vera wondered if the Titan was even capable of being defeated. But then she remembered what was at stake. This wasn't just about their survival anymore. This was about securing a future in the galaxy, a future where humanity would not be subjected to the whims of powerful empires. All hands brace for impact, Vera ordered as the massive fleet began to engage. Prepare to return fire. The first salvo of the Titan's cannons streaked across space in brilliant arcs of destruction, tearing into the enemy ships with a ferocity that shook the stars themselves. One of the dreadnoughts, its shields already strained by the sheer force of the blast, erupted into a blinding explosion as the Titan's main weapon tore through its hull. The scene was pure carnage. But the Dominion wasn't just sitting back. Their retaliatory strikes came fast and deadly, precise beams of concentrated energy that sliced through space. One of their ships, a sleek battleship, darted toward the Titan at high speed, attempting to slip past its defenses and deliver a devastating strike to its unprotected underbelly. Vera saw it coming just in time. Target locked, she said, her voice calm and precise. Fire the auxiliary cannons. A dozen smaller energy beams shot out from the Titan's underside, slamming into the Dominion ship just before it could land its devastating strike. The battleship exploded in a magnificent fireball, disintegrating before it could reach its target. But Vera knew that they couldn't keep this up forever. The Dominion had tactics of their own, ships with adaptive shields that could counter the Titan's main weapon, evasive maneuvers that made their smaller crafts harder to hit. The Titan's brute force would only get them so far. And then, just as she feared, the Eruvian fleet revealed their trump card. Admiral Rethak's personal flagship, a colossal ship that dwarfed even the Titan, appeared at the front of the remaining fleet. It was a masterpiece of Eruvian engineering, sleek, angular, and armed with weapons that could vaporize entire planets. But it was more than just a weapon. It was a symbol of the Dominion's final, desperate gambit to reclaim their superiority. Commander, Lieutenant Vel said, his voice edged with urgency, Rethak's flagship has opened fire. The energy output is off the charts. It's launching something, some kind of superweapon. Vera's pulse quickened as she analyzed the situation. The energy readings spiked, and she realized that the Dominion had one final card to play. If they hit the Titan with this new weapon, the sheer force could overwhelm the Titan's shields, leaving it vulnerable to their next assault. There was only one thing left to do. Deploy the secondary reactors, Vera said, her voice unwavering. If we're going down, we take them with us. As she spoke, the Titan systems hummed louder, energy flooding into every part of the war machine. It was a do-or-die moment. Either they would push back the Dominion for good, or they would fall in a blaze of glory, taking as many of the enemy with them as possible. The battle for Earth, for humanity's place in the galaxy, was about to reach its most perilous point. The Titan stood like an ancient god in the heart of the battlefield, its massive form battling not just the Eruvian fleet but the weight of humanity's future. Every strike, every blast, every detonation reverberated through the ship's core, sending shockwaves of energy across the command deck. Vera Kincaid's fingers danced over the controls, guiding the Titan through the storm of incoming fire, but she knew the endgame had begun. The Eruvian Dominion's final assault was relentless, and Admiral Rethak's flagship was closing in with its deadly superweapon, an energy weapon designed to destroy planets. Commander. Lieutenant Vel's voice cracked through the comms, his tone urgent. The energy output from Rethak's flagship is off the scale. It's charging up, If that thing hits us, we won't survive. Vera's heart raced, but her face remained impassive. She was no stranger to facing impossible odds. The first time humanity had stood against the Dominion's might, they had been the underdogs. But now they were fighting for their right to exist among the stars, for the chance to shape the future of the galaxy. Her eyes flitted over the data displays, flashes of fire, columns of energy, and the scattered remnants of the once proud Dominion fleet. The Titan had taken hits, its armor scarred, but it stood resilient. "I know, Lieutenant," Vera said, her voice calm, almost too calm. "But we won't back down now. This is humanity's fight and we will end it." The Titan's auxiliary reactors powered up, sending pulses of energy to the ship's core, strengthening its shields and amplifying its weapon systems. Vera knew the final weapon, the one that could turn the tide, was just within reach. "Activate the quantum repeater," Vera ordered. "Prepare the breach." The quantum repeater was the Titan's trump card, an experimental weapon designed to breach enemy shields and disrupt the very fabric of space itself. It had never been used in combat before, its full capabilities still a mystery. The plan was simple: break through the shield of Rethak's flagship, and then hit the heart of the ship with everything they had. If they succeeded, they could cripple the Dominion's command structure. If they failed, Earth would be reduced to rubble. Vera's fingers tightened on the console, and with a single command, the Titan's weapon systems aligned. Outside, the Eruvian flagship loomed larger, its cannons crackling with destructive energy. Vera knew that once the weapon fired, their chance to strike would be limited. The fate of Earth and humanity hung on a knife's edge. Then the attack came. A beam of concentrated energy, larger than any that had been seen before, shot from the Dominion flagship, searing through space at unimaginable speeds. It was as though the very fabric of space was being torn apart by the power behind it. Vera's breath caught in her throat. She had seen weapons like this before, on a smaller scale, but never this devastating. "Brace for impact," Vera shouted, her voice rising above the alarms blaring across the command deck. The Titan's shields flared to life in a blinding flash, absorbing the brunt of the blast. But the sheer power of the strike sent the ship reeling, its hull groaning under the stress. Vera was thrown forward against the controls, her vision blurring momentarily. The ship's entire frame shuddered, and she could feel the immense pressure of the energy coursing through the hull. "Shields at 75%. Lieutenant Vell reported, his voice strained. "We're holding, but for how long?" Vera gritted her teeth. "We hold. Activate the quantum repeater now." The ship's core hummed with raw power as the quantum repeater fired, releasing a pulse of distorted energy that screamed through the void toward the Eruvian flagship. The fabric of space twisted in response, and for a brief moment, the Titan seemed to disappear, only to reappear a fraction of a second later, as if reality itself had been bent by the weapon's force. The shot connected. For the first time, the shield of the Eruvian flagship cracked under the force of the quantum repeater. The ship shuddered, its outer hull buckling as the energy beam punched through, leaving a glowing hole in its side. But the flagship wasn't finished yet. Rethak's forces were desperate now, firing every remaining weapon at the Titan. The Eruvian fleet surged forward, but the Titan was faster, its thrusters roaring to life as it dodged a barrage of fire from the remaining Dominion ships. Vera gritted her teeth, her eyes locked on the massive flagship, now exposed, its defenses shattered. "Take them down," she said with finality. "Fire everything." The Titan's weapons unleashed in unison, a barrage of devastating missiles, plasma bolts, and cannon fire. The Dominion flagship, now a wounded beast, tried to retaliate, but its weapon systems were crippled. The first barrage hit, striking its bridge and sending shockwaves through its hull. A second barrage followed, ripping through its core. Rethak's flagship began to break apart, massive sections of its hull shearing off as the Titan's relentless fire tore into its heart. And then, with a final, deafening explosion, the flagship disintegrated. The battlefield fell silent. Vera's hands shook slightly as she exhaled, the weight of what had just happened sinking in. The Titan had done it. Earth had done it. The Dominion's invasion was over. For now they had won. But victory was not without its cost. Vera's gaze turned to the damage reports coming in. Several sections of the Titan were critically damaged, and many lives had been lost in the battle. Humanity had stood on the brink of extinction, but they had faced the threat head-on, and in doing so, they had earned the respect of the galaxy. However, as Vera stood there, staring into the void, she knew the battle for their future was not over. The Dominion had been defeated, but the stars still held countless dangers, and the galaxy's view of humanity was far from settled. One thing was certain: the Titan's wrath had eradicated the doubts of a skeptical universe, and humanity would not fade into the shadows. The aftermath of the battle was a strange stillness, one that seemed to echo across the vastness of space. The remains of the Eruvian fleet floated like broken carcasses, remnants of a force once thought invincible. On Earth, celebrations had erupted in cities across the globe. The Titan's victory had been a symbol of hope, of defiance, and of unity in the face of a seemingly unbeatable foe. But for Vera Kincaid, as she stood aboard the Titan's bridge, the taste of victory was bitter. The damage to the Titan was severe. It was a miracle the ship had survived at all. But now, as the battered war machine loomed in Earth's orbit, Vera couldn't shake the feeling that they had only won the first round of a much larger conflict. The Dominion was down, but they weren't out. And if they returned with more firepower, humanity's greatest weapon might not be enough. "Commander, we've completed an initial assessment of the Titan's damage," Lieutenant Vell said, his voice steady despite the weariness that clung to him. "We've lost several critical systems, communications, engines, and several weapon banks. We're going to need at least a month of repairs before we're fully operational again." Vera nodded, her mind racing. A month. That was a lifetime when the Dominion could be regrouping as they spoke. The universe had just seen what humanity was capable of, and she feared what the consequences might be. She turned away from the command console and gazed out of the window at the distant Earth below. A planet that, only days ago, had been on the verge of annihilation. "How are the civilian evacuations going?" she asked. "We've evacuated over 500 million people," Lieutenant Vell reported. "But there are still millions who need to be relocated from the cities hit hardest during the battle. We're making progress, but it's slow." Vera's heart ached at the thought. The Titan's battle had saved Earth, but it had come at a cost. Families torn apart, cities reduced to rubble, and lives lost in the blink of an eye. Yet, she also knew that the human spirit had not been broken. Humanity had fought back, not just with the Titan but with their unity, their resilience. They had faced extinction and overcome it. That was something no empire could erase. Suddenly, the comms panel chimed, pulling Vera from her reverie. "Commander Kincaid," the voice on the other end was unfamiliar, but it held authority. "This is Ambassador Ilya Zev of the Galactic Coalition. We've been watching your victory closely. The Coalition wishes to speak with you." Vera's brow furrowed. The Galactic Coalition was a loose alliance of species and governments from across the galaxy, many of whom had only heard whispers of humanity's potential. Their interest was not unexpected, but she was unsure of their intentions. Were they allies? Or would they see Earth as a new threat to their fragile peace? "Ambassador Zev," Vera replied, her voice calm but guarded. "We're in no position to entertain any further negotiations at the moment. We're in the process of recovering from the battle. However, I'm willing to hear what you have to say." "There will be no formal negotiations at this time," Zev said, his voice distant but stern. "But I believe the victory of the Titan demands immediate attention. The Dominion may have been your first enemy, but they will not be your last. Your actions have sparked something: fear, admiration, and perhaps even envy, in many factions. The galaxy is not as simple as you may think." "I'm aware of that," Vera replied coolly. "What is it that you want, Ambassador?" "We wish to offer our assistance," Zev said, and Vera could hear the faintest hint of tension in his voice. "Not just as allies but as a means of survival. The Titan is a weapon of incredible power. However, even it cannot stand alone. There are forces in the galaxy, far more dangerous than the Dominion, that would not hesitate to crush Earth if given the chance. The Coalition can help protect your world if you're willing to accept our offer." Vera's mind whirred. Was this truly an offer of help, or were they trying to pull Earth into their sphere of influence, using the Titan as leverage? She knew Earth's military resources were limited, despite the Titan's power. The Coalition might be the key to ensuring humanity's survival, but at what cost? "I need to think about it," Vera said. "But make no mistake, we will never surrender our sovereignty. Earth will stand alone if necessary." "We wouldn't ask you to surrender, Commander," Zev replied, his tone now softer. "But we believe that in this galaxy, survival requires more than just power. It requires alliances. And right now, Earth is standing on the edge of something far bigger than anyone realizes." The comms went silent, leaving Vera with more questions than answers. The offer was tempting: security, resources, knowledge, but it carried risks. Humanity had fought for its independence, its freedom, and the thought of aligning with a galactic coalition that was more interested in its own survival than in helping Earth did not sit well with her. "Lieutenant," Vera said, turning back to her officer. Get me a secure channel to Earth's leadership. I need to know where they stand on this. Right away, Commander, Vel replied, his fingers already moving over the console. Vera stood there, watching the holographic map of the galaxy flicker into existence, her thoughts lost in the enormity of what was at stake. The battle for Earth had been won, but a far larger struggle was just beginning. The galaxy was watching humanity now, and it would only take one wrong move to tip the balance. The question was no longer whether humanity could survive, it was whether they would thrive in a galaxy full of complex, dangerous forces. Earth had proven its strength, but would its soul remain intact? As she gazed out into the void, Vera knew one thing for certain. The Titan had not just silenced the Dominion. It had given humanity a voice in the galactic theater, and that voice would not be easily ignored. Vera Kincaid stood on the bridge of the Titan, her eyes scanning the vastness of space. The aftermath of the battle with the Dominion had been a bittersweet victory, one that had not only secured Earth's immediate survival but had also thrust humanity into the galactic spotlight. Earth was no longer a hidden world in the galaxy's dark corner, it was a force to be reckoned with. Yet the future felt uncertain, like a storm on the horizon, dark and inevitable. The Galactic Coalition had made its offer, but it was clear that nothing came without a price. The idea of aligning with such a powerful and far-reaching organization troubled her, though it was undeniably tempting. Earth was still reeling from the war, and the Titan, despite its overwhelming strength, couldn't stand alone forever. She'd made her decision. Commander, Lieutenant Vel's voice broke through her thoughts and she turned to face him. We've established a secure channel to Earth's leadership. President Larnell is requesting a direct link. Vera nodded. Put him through. A holographic image of President Larnell flickered to life before her. The president, a tall, sharp-featured man with graying hair, appeared every bit the leader humanity needed in this moment of crisis. His usually composed expression was lined with exhaustion, but his eyes were determined, a reflection of the gravity of their situation. Commander Kincaid, President Larnell said, his voice calm but laced with a tension she could hear even through the calm. You've done the impossible. Earth stands victorious and the Dominion is no more. We're all deeply grateful for your leadership and the bravery of the Titan's crew. Vera acknowledged his praise with a curt nod, but she didn't want to linger on accolades. The battle is over, Mr. President, but the war for Earth's future is just beginning. He raised an eyebrow. I see. The coalition, I take it? Exactly. Ambassador Ilyazev reached out to us, offering assistance, she replied, her tone measured. They claim that even with the Titan, Earth cannot survive alone in this galaxy. They want to forge an alliance. I'm not sure it's the right path, but I need to know where you stand. Larnell's expression grew more serious. I've been briefed on the offer. The coalition is powerful, but their motivations are complicated. They are not a charitable organization, Commander. They want access to the Titan's technology, and they want Earth's strategic position within the galaxy. It's not just protection they're offering, it's influence. Vera clenched her jaw, a slight frustration bubbling inside her. And if we refuse? If we refuse, Larnell said, leaning forward slightly, Earth will likely find itself isolated. The coalition has enough sway in the galaxy to make life difficult for us, both politically and economically. We could be cut off from vital trade routes, resources, even intelligence networks. And if we accept their offer? Vera asked, her voice low. Larnell hesitated, clearly weighing the consequences. If we accept, we enter a web of galactic politics and alliances that could either strengthen us or weaken us. We'll no longer be masters of our own destiny. The coalition is too large, too powerful, and its factions are diverse. We would always be a pawn in someone else's game. The question is whether that's better than the alternative. Vera felt a knot form in her stomach. She had expected this. No easy answers, no simple decisions. Earth's survival was at stake, but it wasn't just a matter of survival. It was about humanity's soul, its place in the galaxy. Could they afford to play by the coalition's rules, or would that mean losing everything they had fought for? We need more time to consider our options, Vera said finally. We need to understand the coalition's true motives. I won't risk Earth becoming a cog in their machine. Understood, President Larnell replied. I'll initiate a task force to investigate the coalition further. We'll also need to strengthen our diplomatic channels. It's time we start building our own alliances, Commander. And it's time we prepare for whatever comes next. Agreed, Vera said. I'll keep the Titan in orbit and continue monitoring the situation. But make no mistake, we'll be ready for anything. As the comm line went silent, Vera allowed herself a moment of respite. The weight of the galaxy was bearing down on them now, and she had no illusion about the choices ahead. The Titan had earned them a voice in the Galactic Council, but it had also made Earth a target for those who saw its potential, its power, as a threat or an opportunity. "Commander," Lieutenant Vel spoke again, "we've received a communication from the Dominion's remnants. A group of dissident leaders are attempting to rally support. They want to negotiate with Earth." Vera's heart sank. Just when she thought they were on the verge of something resembling peace, the fires of conflict were rekindled. "Put them through," she said, her voice hardening. Moments later, the screen flickered and a familiar face appeared. Admiral Rethak, second in command, a sharp-featured woman whose eyes gleamed with a dangerous mix of ambition and fear. "Commander Kincaid," the woman said, her voice icy, "I am General Feanor of the Eruvian Dominion's loyalist faction. The Dominion may have fallen, but we are not broken. We wish to offer you an opportunity. A new alliance. An exchange of technology, resources, and something more. A partnership that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy." Vera's gaze narrowed. "You've come to us after your empire fell to pieces? What kind of deal are you offering, General Feanor?" "The kind of deal you cannot afford to turn down," she replied with a smirk. "The Dominion may have crumbled, but there are those who still believe in its cause. Those who see the Titan as a symbol of strength, and who want to harness that power. Help us restore the Dominion to its former glory, and you'll have access to technologies, fleets, and alliances beyond your wildest imagination. Together, we can crush the Coalition and any other threat to humanity's rightful place in the galaxy." Vera's fists clenched. The audacity of it was staggering. But she knew one thing: this was not a war that could be won by military strength alone. Diplomacy, alliances, and power plays were about to become as important as any battle the Titan had ever fought. "We don't need your empire," Vera said, her voice unwavering. "The last thing we'll do is ally ourselves with a regime that tried to annihilate us." "Then you will regret it," General Feanor replied coldly. "Mark my words, Commander. The Dominion will rise again and Earth will be its first target." The line cut, leaving a tense silence in the wake of her words. Vera turned to Lieutenant Vel. "Set a course for Earth. The Coalition, the Dominion, these games are just beginning. We have no choice but to play." And as the Titan's engines roared to life, sending it on its journey toward Earth's orbit, Vera couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy was an ocean, vast, unpredictable, and filled with both peril and opportunity. The Titan's engines thrummed softly as it made its way back toward Earth. The journey was long, but for Vera Kincaid, every minute seemed to stretch endlessly in the vast void of space. Her thoughts churned, consumed by the heavy decisions that lay ahead. Earth had won a spectacular victory against the Dominion, but the price was steep, and the galaxy now saw them not as a fledgling world, but as a potential player in the dangerous games of power and politics. The communications array on the bridge buzzed once more. Vera's eyes flicked to the incoming transmission. It was from President Larnell. She activated the link, and his familiar face appeared on the holographic screen. His expression was calm, but there was an edge of concern that Vera hadn't seen before. "Commander, we've received urgent intelligence from our diplomatic channels. The Coalition, they've started mobilizing. Some factions are already gathering forces on the outer rim of our system." Vera's heart skipped a beat. "Mobilizing? For what?" Larnell's eyes darkened. "There's been a shift in their stance. Some members of the Coalition, particularly the Centaurians and the hfy, are concerned about humanity's growing power. They see the Titan as a potential threat, not just to the Dominion but to their own interests. There are whispers that they may take action against Earth, whether through economic pressure, covert operations, or, in the worst case, military force." Vera's jaw tightened. It was what she had feared. The Titan was a beacon of human ingenuity, but it was also a threat to established powers. The Coalition was not a united front. Factions with differing agendas could easily fracture and turn against one another, and Earth could be caught in the crossfire. "And the Dominion?" she asked, her voice steady despite the growing tension. "Have they made any moves?" Larnell's expression hardened. "Yes. General Feanor's faction is not idle. They've rallied a significant number of ships from the remnants of the Dominion fleet. They're positioning themselves near the Trion Nebula, far enough to avoid Coalition scrutiny, but close enough to strike if the situation escalates. Feanor is still determined to bring the Dominion back, and she believes the Titan is key to that. She's made it clear that they'll do whatever it takes to win us over, or else." Vera sighed. The galaxy had become a game of chess, but the stakes were far higher than anyone had realized. Earth's newfound place in the galactic order had drawn the attention of not just potential allies, but enemies who would stop at nothing to manipulate or destroy them. She exhaled slowly, trying to focus. We need to consolidate our position before things spiral further out of control. If we don't, we risk being crushed between the Coalition's fears and the Dominion's ambitions. I agree, Larnell said. Which brings me to the next point. The Coalition has offered a meeting with their leaders, formally to discuss Earth's future. I've arranged for you to be the representative of Earth in this summit. It's a chance for us to negotiate, to show them we are not just a threat, but a valuable ally. But be careful, Commander. These negotiations will be treacherous. You'll be walking into a room with enemies disguised as allies. Vera felt the weight of the responsibility pressed down on her shoulders. A summit. A chance to secure Earth's future, or to doom it to a fate far worse than war. The room would be filled with representatives from the most powerful factions in the galaxy, each with their own agenda. Some might seek to control Earth. Others would try to destroy them. And still, others would attempt to sway her to their side, offering promises of power, protection, and influence. But Vera Kincaid had already made her decision. Earth would not kneel. They had fought for their survival, not to be swept into the politics of an uncertain galaxy. The Titan had proven humanity's might, but it had also shown that humanity's will was stronger than any weapon. She looked up at the screen, her resolve hardening. Prepare the Titan for the summit. I'll go. But understand this, our independence is non-negotiable. We will not be pawns in their games. Understood, Commander, Larnell replied. I'll have the diplomatic teams ready for your departure. Just know that the Coalition may try to test you, to see if humanity can be swayed. Be prepared for anything. Vera ended the transmission, and the silence in the bridge was deafening. The weight of the moment hung heavy. Earth's survival, its future, was about to be decided not on the battlefield, but in the heart of galactic diplomacy. The Titan, once humanity's last hope in the face of annihilation, would now serve as the symbol of their bargaining chip. As the Titan hurtled toward Earth, Vera took a moment to reflect on how far humanity had come. Once, they had been an insignificant world on the fringes of a vast, uncaring universe. Now they stood on the precipice of a new age, one where they could either rise as equals among the stars or fall prey to forces far greater than they could imagine. The battle against the Dominion had ended, but a much larger war was just beginning. The Titan had erased the doubts of a skeptical world, but now it would have to prove that humanity could forge its own destiny in a galaxy filled with uncertainty and conflict. And as the Titan entered Earth's orbit, ready to embark on its next mission, Vera couldn't help but feel the weight of the galaxy's gaze upon them. Humanity had already changed the rules. Now it was time to rewrite the future. This concluding part wraps up the story with the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. They've proven their strength in battle, but the true test lies ahead in the complex world of galactic diplomacy. It's a moment of reflection on how far they've come, and a glimpse into the challenges of what's to come. Would you like to explore this storyline further, or is there anything else you'd like to adjust?